Over the last few years, I've been fortunate enough to deliver these rants in some of the most majestic locations on our globe, like on top of a cliff in the Isle of Mull of Scotland, on top of a skyscraper in London, England, standing next to a crystal blue, pristine lake on a sunny day in Alaska, and right next to a wild polar bear in the Arctic Circle. But today, I will give you this rant from the dark, gloomy, rusty, and frigid state of West Virginia. Yep, West Virginia. Now your question might be, what the hell are you doing in West Virginia? Well, guys, you're going to learn something about the Lincoln. This is where I was born. In fact, I was born right here on this street. Take a look. In this neighborhood, in that house right there. Yep, that's where I grew up. Now, it's obviously different from my San Diego neighborhood, and I'm going to try to do this without snotting because I'm really cold. As you can tell, my cheeks are probably beet red, and I'm going to start slobbering snot out here, so I apologize for that. Now, geographically, this area is about 65, 70 miles south of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, pretty close to the University of West Virginia, which is Morgantown. And, you know, it's not Beverly Hills, but it wasn't too bad growing up here. I shared my first kiss right over there, right behind that little building right there. I'm not going to tell you who it was. We used to come out here every Sunday and play football in this road after the Pittsburgh Steelers games. I'm going to walk over here for a second. Hope I don't get hit by that car. But that telephone pole used to be the touchdown area. And then we would kick the field goals over top of that, over top of the telephone pole there over the wires. So it was pretty cool coming out here, growing up in this area. We didn't have much, but we didn't care. It was fun. You know, we had what we needed, a roof over our head, food on our table. Dad took good care of us, so that was good. The rant I want to talk about today is what I'm going to call deceptive slavery. Now, I'm going to give you a little West Virginia history in this area. When my grandparents were growing up and my dad was growing up, it was really prevalent in their generation. It's tapered off in mine. My dad's a baby boomer, if you want to know what generation it was. So this is like me growing up here in the late 60s, 70s. So what would happen is these corporations would come in here. West Virginia at one time produced much of the nation's coal. And these corporations would come in, they would buy up all of this land, and they would build their mines, which is what you're seeing right here behind me. It used to be a big coal mine, big factory. And they would buy up all of this area, build these homes, and build these stores, and hire people. Now, when you got hired by the mines here, or the factories, this area right down here, the street, was what you called, or used to be referred to as a camp. A camp is property or a town that's owned by the corporation, the mines, or whatever it is. So when you get hired, back to the point, you get hired by the mines, you can rent one of their homes. You can buy whatever you want in their general store, which is like a little mini Walmart. It sells all life's necessities, food, clothing, and everything. And you didn't have to have any money for that. You just signed your name. And then the mine, or the company, would take whatever you spent out of your paycheck every week. So you wouldn't even get your money. So if you went to the general store, you bought pants and clothes and food, you just signed your name, and out of your check it went. Now, the purpose of doing that was to entrap the people. So every single dollar that they made working in this mine ended up going back into the corporation's pocket. A good example of this, if you've ever seen the lifestyle of these people, would have been portrayed in the October Sky movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. Very good representation about how it was growing up in West Virginia. But the mines would own the people. And they would work whatever hours they want. So if the mine needed you, they would call you. So my father would just sit there next to his phone, the phone would ring, he'd have to run to the mines. My grandfather did the same thing. They worked Saturdays, they worked Sundays. They became prisoners to the corporations and the mines because they controlled you. Now, the people knew about these working conditions, and you know, they fought for their rights with the unions, and they had some nasty battles. One of the dark pieces of West Virginia history, if you ever have time, is Matewan. Now, that happened several years before I grew up. But it was an example of how lifestyle was here. And the story of Matewan, just in a quick nutshell, is the unions went against the corporations, and it got so bad that it came to gunfire. They started shooting people in the streets. And I can remember right here in this area was the front entrance. Right here, you're looking at the front entrance. And when my dad and the union would go on strike, they would picket out here all day long on the people of the community. And there would be fist fights right here in this street. I'd come home from school and there would be brawls, just battles going, fist fighting. And like I said, this wasn't like the 1800s. This was 1975 up to 1980. They'd fight right here in the street, and the women, the wives would come down and break it all up, especially if the people crossed the picket line. So this was a way that, they controlled the people. They worked for them. They were slaves to the mine controlled. Now, if you got sick in the mines, you got injured, you quit, they just threw you out. I can remember people having their stuff thrown out here on the street. It was like that. That's exactly how it was. So the point in this now is you couldn't do that in today's America. Not in this country. You couldn't do that. But there's still ways that you are forced into what I call deceptive forms of slavery. And you can't have a corporation come in here like that and control the people. But corporations themselves still control people, and they do that in the form of debt. And it starts from the time you are young, at least in America. You are told, and follow me on this, you are told that from a little age that you are going to get good grades in school and work real hard. And that's going to lead you into getting into some sort of higher learning, like a university or a college. So you are going to pick a degree or some field of study, and you're going to go to college. So when that time comes, you realize you cannot afford college. But don't worry, because the government will loan you money in the form of a student loan if your parents aren't wealthy enough, which 99% of parents are not wealthy enough to send their kids to quality universities. So you get a loan. Then you're told you will buy a house. You got to own a piece of America. You got to get some real estate. So you buy some real estate. Again, you don't have any money. Don't worry. You don't need any money. You don't need any money down. We have credit. Money is easy to borrow. Then you need a car to get yourself to school. Then you buy yourself a car, and so on. And my point is, eventually, or the process here is to get the people, the American people, and it's probably this way in your country if you're from another country now, is to get the people into debt. Because if people get into debt, then the government can control you. Now, they can't do it like a corporation could years ago, where one single corporation like Stone Mountain or an Alcoa or something like that could come in here and dominate an area, but they can put you into the system through the form of debt. And why this is important is because as long as you have significant debt, you will never accomplish anything, really. You will never get where you need to go in life. You'll never be rich if you're stuck in debt, because there's going to come a point in everybody's life where they say, look, I don't want to work here anymore. This is not what I want to do with my life. But they're reluctant to leave their job and start their career, whatever career it may be, because of finances and because of debt. And the reason they don't is because they realize, look, if I quit my job and devote my time to building this invention or stock trading or starting a store of some sort or following a dream, that their family won't eat, because they get married, they have children, they have a mortgage payment, they have car payments, and they're in so much debt that they can't take that risk. They can't take the risk of getting a job because they're afraid they're going to lose everything. And then, 1 year turns into 10, turns into 20, and the next thing you know, you're an old person sitting on a porch swing, living on a Social Security check, wondering what the hell happened in your life. And it's a sad situation. In fact, it's sad enough when they say, I've done a couple of rants about this before, but America, this dreamland. The sad fact is there are 60% of our population that does not even have a savings account. And 80% of all of the people in America are living paycheck to paycheck. That means they are one injury, one bad health problem, one screw up away from going completely under. So it doesn't matter if they're driving brand new Mercedes or Lexus, living in 5,000 square foot homes with a pool, grilling up food on a Saturday and Sunday watching the game. Most people are inches away from disaster, and that's because of debt. So my point in all of this is debt is a way that your governments now control you. It's not as obvious as it used to be. That's why it's deceptive. It's deceptive slavery. But as long as you have debt, you are a slave to the system. Now, it's not as bad as it was here, and definitely not as bad as traditional American slavery, but it's still a form of oppressing the people. The question becomes, what do you do? How do you avoid this, or how do you get out of a mess like this so you can actually live the life that you want? Well, if you're young enough and you're listening to this, you're in a good spot because you probably don't have any debt yet. And you've got to do everything in your power not to get any debt. And it's hard because I can remember as a young kid, you're growing up, you don't have anything, and then you get a job, you can go to a car dealership and sign and get a brand new Corvette. Well, that lure of finally having something, just sign your name and drive off the lot with it, it's hard to resist. And your friends around you, I'm sure if you're young, they're buying stuff. They're going to the mall using credit cards. You're getting credit card offers when you're 18. You see money that's available to borrow, and it's tempting. You want to borrow it. You want to keep up with people and have an appearance. So you've got to really work hard to look at the bigger picture and say, I'm 22, I'm 25. I'm looking at being rich or self-sufficient at 35. At 40. So I'm going to make those sacrifices now. And this is an easier time for you because you may not have yet found a spouse. You may not have a lot of debt. You probably don't have a lot of debt. You don't own a home. So, the world is still pretty open to you. So you've got to do everything you can in your power not to get any debt. For those who are older, and let's say you have debt, you are one of those people. Sorry, my nose is running. It's so cold out here. You are one of those people who are paycheck to paycheck, you're struggling and you really want to make that switch. You have to start making sacrifices. You have to start cutting back on your life. You have to start downsizing, getting rid of the debt. It will be hard. Maybe if the house payment's too much, start to sell the house and downsize. Sell some of the stuff in the home that you no longer need. Have a yard sale, get cash. Use that cash to pay down debts. Maybe postpone that vacation. Now, certainly these are things that sometimes people do not want to do in our country. They don't want to step back, but sometimes you have to step back to take 5 steps forward. Because what happens, like I said just a minute ago, is if you continue into that cycle, like a hamster on a wheel, you're just in the system, you're in the machine, you're in the grid, you're doing your piece, but you're constantly working, and time is going to pass you by if it hasn't already. And you're going to look around in your 60s and 70s and go, damn it, I blew it. I should have done this. I should have started this. I should have done it. And trust me, you can do it. You just have to make the sacrifices. And it goes without saying, look where in the hell I was born. I came from this to where I am now, and it took a lot of sacrifices. And these were the things that my dad taught my brother and I. He knew his situation when he started working in these mines and factories. He knew how it was. And I've told that story before too. He was really adamant and preached to us relentlessly about, look, don't do this. Don't end up like me. Don't go to this factory because you don't want this life. You're better than that. Go out and start your own businesses. And every time my brother and I would screw up and fail and start whining and crying, he's like, no. You don't want to do this. He always said, never work by the hour. If you work by the hour, you're done. You're done. And he was right. So it's no surprise that my brother and I both own our own business. And, we're not super multimillionaires owning like Google or a Facebook, but, we've done the things that we wanted to do, certainly more than the people who stayed in this area. And we've made something of ourselves, and I'm proud of what I've done. So my point in all of this is, you live in a world now that still has some form of slavery. Sure, it's not like, torturous slavery, but it's a way to oppress people. It's a way to keep you down, and ultimately, in the end, what this costs you is it costs you the most valuable thing you have, and that's your dreams. You know? You have to put your dreams, your desires, and your goals on hold because you got into debt. Debt is a controlling thing. So that's going to do it for me because I can barely feel my hand. I really hope when I watch this back, I'm not snot because I'm not used to this kind of weather. And, you know, this is my hood, man. Every time I come back here, it's an eye-opener. It's like, wow, I can't believe I came from this. But anyway, you guys take care of yourselves. Thanks for listening to me. If you made it this far, I'm going somewhere. I'm gonna drive somewhere else and get out of this area. I just got to move on. So anyway, till next time, thanks for watching The Rant. Talk to you then.